What's up, and welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA, the biggest stories with the local experts. I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, also host of Locked On Rockets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Today, we'll be joined by Cyrus Saatsaz from Locked On Warriors. Take a look at the Warriors offseason so far, some of the key losses of the Warriors roster this offseason, some of the names that they've added in Donte DiVincenzo and JaMychal Green to offset the losses of guys like Gary Payton II, Otto Porter Jr., Also, what are we expecting to see out of the Warriors' youthful trio in Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga, and James Wiseman? But first, a quick message from our friends over at Rocket Money. If you keep saying that you need to make a budget but never do it, if somehow you keep missing credit card payments, if you're afraid to even look at your bank statement, then it's time to take back control of your financial life. Meet Rocket Money, formerly Truebill, our favorite financial app. So why did Truebill change its name to Rocket Money? Truebill, now backed by Rocket Companies, has grown from a bill management app into a full-on personal finance empowerment tool that helps over 3.4 million people with budgeting, lowering bills, canceling subscriptions, and more, saving each of their members on average $700 a year. And with all that growth comes the next evolution in Truebill's story, a new name. Bottom line, Rocket Money is everything about Truebill, but with a fresh new look and feel. Start canceling your unused subscriptions and save money at rocketmoney.com/lockedonnba. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedonnba, or download the app from the Apple App Store or Google Play Store. Joining us now is Cyrus Saatsaz from Locked On Warriors. You can follow on Twitter at DogSurfRoadshow, which every time I say it is one of the best handles across the entire Locked On network. Now, Cyrus, this is a Warriors team fresh off of a title run, but they're not going to look exactly like the same team this next season. There have been a handful of players, who have left the Warriors organization this offseason. We'll run through those names: Gary Payton II, Otto Porter Jr., Nemanja Bjelica, Juan Toscano Anderson, and Damian Lee. A handful of guys that are no longer going to be a part of this Warriors organization. Of those names, who leaving impacts the Warriors the most from the list of guys who won't be back next season?
Oh, I literally was just asked this question yesterday by one of our colleagues, Josh Lloyd, who hosts Locked On Fantasy Basketball. And the easy answer is Gary Payton II. He's such a defensive savant, man. The Warriors are a deep team, and I'm starting to kind of pay attention again to national media a little bit, seeing what they're saying about the Warriors. One thing that I'm hearing right now, which is just a utter falsehood, is that the Warriors are not deep. That I don't find that to be true at all. A huge reason why the Warriors did not bring Gary Payton II back, beside the fact that he costed a lot of money and the Warriors cap situation is just nightmarish, where for every dollar they spend, they're paying somewhere in the $12 range in terms of a luxury tax penalty. Now, the new CBA could bring the Warriors tremendous relief because I'm hearing a lot of speculation that from very trustworthy sources that the new CBA next year will not penalize teams for their draft picks in terms of a luxury tax. That would change the game night and day for the Warriors because they only have one undrafted player who's a marquee player for them, and that's Andrew Wiggins. And really the whole thing of penalizing a team for draft picks goes against the very spirit of the luxury tax, because the Oklahoma City Thunder could face massive repercussions in a few years, and they're a small market team. So the point is that the Warriors might have let go of Gary Payton II this year because of the luxury tax penalties, but they also are deep. Like, they're ready for Moses Moody to play some significant minutes this year. He's going to take up a lot of Gary Payton II's minutes. They added Donte DiVincenzo, who a lot of individuals I've spoke with speak very highly of him. So he's going to be taking a lot of those minutes. But still, Gary Payton II, he was just such a great clubhouse guy. His defense, I mean, whether in the playoffs he was battling Ja Morant, he was giving Nikola Jokic issues, who's much bigger than him. And despite being 6'3", he played like a big. I mean, he had a post-up game. He caught lobs for dunks. He actually had a decent corner three. So he wasn't really the liability offensively that a lot of people made him out to be at times. So it's going to be Gary Payton II. But at the same time, the Warriors are so deep that I think they're going to be okay.
And first off, you try saying luxury tax penalty 5 times fast, and it's gonna be game over. But
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned there, the addition of Donte DiVincenzo, because I wanted to ask you about his addition to this Warriors team. A guy who maybe brings you a little bit more offense than Gary Payton II, but probably a little bit less on the defensive side of the ball. And then also JaMychal Green, a forward who's had a lot of success in the NBA. What did their additions mean, and how do you kind of imagine them fitting into this Warriors rotation?
Yeah, the DiVincenzo edition is huge. I brought on Kane Pittman, I think that's his name, the Locked On Bucks host. We had a crossover recently, and the main reason from my end for it was to pick his brain about Donte DiVincenzo, because he played for the Bucks for all those years, and Kane made it very clear that the Warriors got a gem. Stephen Curry and I can't remember if it was Draymond Green or Steve Kerr who was the second person recruiting him, but that recruiting pitch worked. It's likely just going to be a one-year deal. His second year is a player option, but what he brings that Gary Payton II does not bring is ball handling. He's a legitimate point guard who can handle the rock very effectively. He's a fantastic passer. Like you said, he's a solid shooter. And then his defense, supposedly, we'll find out, but his defense is supposedly exemplary. So people are very encouraged about DiVincenzo coming in to replace Gary Payton II. But JaMychal Green, to me, was the absolute steal for the Warriors this offseason, just because he's not old yet. He's 32. He had 6'8". He can play the small ball 5. His three-point shot went down last year, but he explained in his one of his early interviews since joining the Warriors that the shooting numbers, at least from beyond the arc, went down largely because he was suffering some sort of hand or wrist injury. And he also just didn't have a lot of spacing on that Nuggets team. Without Jamal Murray, without who's the other guy?
Michael Porter Jr.
Michael Porter Jr., thank you, who was out for the year. I mean, those are two players who are legitimate three-point threats, and they didn't have a great shooting team last year. So when JaMychal was out there lurking, trying to shoot a three, there were defenders all up in his face, and he was not seeing clean looks. So, the hope is that the three-point numbers that went down last year were an anomaly, and that he's going to come back and give them tremendous minutes. But JaMychal Green is one of these guys that, again, he can play the stretch 5. He's a fantastic defender. He can hit the 3. And that's going to be big. The moment they added him, all my worries about losing Gary Payton II ceded, just completely went away, and I felt good again, because he's going to be a massive addition for this team, and expect him to play a lot of minutes.
Now, of the Warriors' kind of a youthful trio in Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, and James Wiseman, who do you envision kind of stepping into the biggest role out of those three this next season? I know you mentioned Moses Moody there a moment ago, and specifically, what are you kind of hoping to see from those three guys moving forward? Just because, to your point, a few moments ago, Cyrus, you were talking about, maybe some of the national media doesn't view this Warriors team as deep. I'm inclined to agree with you. I view this Warriors team as insanely deep because they just have talent, like, all the way through guys 12, 13, and 14 seemingly like on the roster. And then you look at this young trio of players and all the untapped potential there. So what are you kind of hoping to see out of that three, and who do you think is going to be the most important member of those three players?
Well, Moses Moody is most NBA ready. He's got a fantastic outside shot. He can hit the 3 with ease. His ball handling's okay. I think that could improve, but defensively he's stout. Offensively, again, fantastic shooter. He's already advanced his skill set in terms of setting blocks and screens. He's ready to go. I think that's the biggest reason why Gary Payton II was not fought for by the Warriors front office in terms of re-signing him and at least trying to come close to match the Portland Trailblazers. They offered Gary Payton II the mid-level exception, and that was it. And Gary Payton II got a lot more money from Portland. So Moses Moody's a player they're counting on. He's shown tremendous maturity. He's been referenced as having a quote unquote old soul, whatever that means to you, but it ultimately references, the fact that he acts much older than he really is, which is just 20 years old. Now, Jonathan Kuminga is a player who's a little more raw right now, but his ceiling is much higher. In the summer league, he posted solid numbers. His first game was weak. And he took that personally. Draymond Green called him out for it, and he responded with numerous games. I think he finished averaging just under 20 points a game in Summer League. They actually made him play the point guard position in Summer League just to kind of get his ball handling skills developed, but he's really strong inside. His post game is developed. He's actually, and I learned this yesterday with Josh Lloyd, he's actually the most effective finisher for the Golden State Warriors. I was not actually aware of that. It was a trivia section. That was the one question I got wrong. Jonathan Kuminga could be a megastar in this game. I'm very curious to see what he's going to do next year. And just the fact that Moody and Kuminga are going to be getting minutes by itself is huge. Because last year they had so many other veterans and Kerr just really doesn't trust rookies and goes to them only if he has to, or if he just needs to mix things up. This year he's going to be given the minutes because they need him. I would say Moses Moody is the most NBA ready, and expect him to give you 10 plus points a game this year. Jonathan Kuminga's ceiling is limitless. I mean, this guy could be a Hall of Famer someday. I mean, I know that's shooting for the stars, but that's how high his potential is. And I think he's going to be giving you 15 points a game in the regular season. Now, James Wiseman is the massive question mark. This is someone who either could be traded midway through the season because he's going to be owed $12 million a year next year. And for a team who's deep in the luxury tax and worrying about that, and we still don't know how the CBA is going to play out. So the team might decide we don't want to pay him $12 million a year, which is what a number 2 pick will get in his 4th year. So he might get traded, or he might live up to his potential. I mean, the team is counting on him to be their primary backup center. I envision him taking on the role that Nemanja Bjelica had last year. He does space the floor. He's got a fantastic shooting stroke. And he covers the floor just so effectively. He glides with these massive steps from one end to the other in no time at all. And I'll say this, and I've said this before. I've spoken with a lot of current and former players, executives, coaches in the NBA. Not one person has said a bad thing about James Wiseman. They all expect tremendous things from him. He just has to be healthy, and he is. I mean, he played in the summer league. All indications are he's a go. But it's a question mark in terms of predicting how he's going to turn out. He could be a superstar too. We'll find out. But yeah, in terms of Moody and Kuminga, those are going to be guys that I think are going to light it up this year.
All right, last thing for you here, Cyrus. But Andre Iguodala, will he be a Warrior again this season? Do you want to see Iggy back, or is it maybe time for him to hang up the sneakers?
I would want him back if the alternative, because that was actually the topic of discussion on one of my recent episodes of Locked On Warriors is, what happens if Andre Iguodala decides to retire? Because that's your 14th roster spot that is completely open. They're just leaving it open for him. They're not going to add a 15th player to the roster. They're going to go with 14 and 2 two-ways. So in my opinion, if the alternative is like another G Leaguer, then come back. His wisdom is valuable. He calms Draymond Green down. When he plays, he can still very much play, but his body's clearly breaking down. I mean, he's got like old man, my neck, my back, my neck, and my back type injuries, like Izzel. He's at that level, man. These are old man, like his knee hurts. It's just the kind of stuff that's what happens when you get old. These parts of your body start to creak. And so if you're going to replace him with someone like a Carmelo Anthony, a Lou Williams, you might get another center like a Boogie Cousins, then I say, Andre, I love you. I hope I'm speaking for Dub Nation's behalf. You've done a tremendous job with this organization. You were a Finals MVP. You were there for all 4 championships. But at the same time, it's like his body's breaking down. I don't know if he couldn't finish the year last year. He missed most of the season. So to me, it depends on what you're going to replace him with. Like if you're going to replace him with a G Leaguer, please come back Andre Iguodala. But if they have another veteran lined up, if he decides to retire, I might want to see that veteran, because at least you can get some minutes from him and hopefully not deal with the health issues that Andre Iguodala has been dealing with. But ultimately, he's earned that cachet with the team, and they're just sitting there waiting for him to decide. It's really weird. I've never seen anything like that, where a player is just given like complete carte blanche to decide his future whenever he wants. I imagine the deadline's probably going to be close to the training camp. But it is interesting that he's just kind of lingering and hasn't decided what he's going to do.
Will Donte DiVincenzo and maybe Moses Moody continuing to grow be enough to offset the loss of Gary Payton II? Will Andre Iguodala be back in a Warriors jersey next season, or will he hang up the sneakers for good? You're going to have us covered for all of that and more over at Locked On Warriors. Cyrus, appreciate you stopping by Locked On NBA with me.
Jackson, my friend, anytime you need me, I'm here for you, unless you call and I don't respond like I did one time. But otherwise, anytime.